Hello friends, colleagues. So what I want to do is very briefly put this campaign in context. Some of us have been working together, noodling away on this for a while, and I'm very, very excited that we've got this stage where we can start to talk about an emerging new campaign that we can share with you today, and then we want you to stay tuned in because there's going to be some big announcements, I think, coming over the next few months. So if we put the SHINE campaign in its context, this is an extraordinary opportunity to mobilise across the faith and philanthropy communities in order to be able to invest and support an emerging market for solutions for energy access. The time is right. If you walk around the hall of this forum, you can see people who are providing solutions at the village level, at the town level, at the city level, across sub-Saharan Africa, across South Asia, across Southeast Asia, Central America and Latin America. You can see investors, people who can take a lot of risk, mobilising those who can't take quite as much risk but may have scale of financing, and people who are prepared to put money that can take all the risk, technical assistance and grant aid, into this moment where we believe these solutions are ready to scale. The solutions have to scale, and we have to build up speed, because 2 days ago we released the Global Tracking Framework. The Global Tracking Framework is it's our dashboard. It tells us where we are on our progress towards Sustainable Development Goal 7, a goal that everybody should have access to clean, affordable, reliable energy, and that is an essential component of our commitment to each other, that we will not leave anyone behind as we try to combat climate change and poverty. The dashboard says that we are seeing extraordinary things happening everywhere, but when we add it all together, it's not yet going far enough, fast enough. We have an opportunity by mobilising communities that care, by communities that are informed of the opportunity. We have an opportunity to lift everyone up. This kind of mobilisation will only become more and more important as more and more opportunities become available, as technology continues to drop in price, as more and more experience of business models starts to come to the fore, as more and more success that comes from some of the very early stage investment and commitment that's been made into this space starts to show results. So we know that there's huge commitment around meeting this goal. We know that there are large amounts of money that are sort of allocated towards solving this problem. We know that there is technical advice available all around the world, but we have to bring it together at the right time in the right place to support the right solutions. And within that ecosystem, within that emerging market, there are some things which are simply not available. Patient capital. People who are so prepared to hang in there with those who have no energy that they will put their money at risk until we find the right way of getting that solution going. There is nobody more patient than the informed philanthropist, and there is nobody more patient than faith communities around the world. For that reason, I think that this campaign has a truly important role to play and a true chance of being transformative. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. And now, Mary, can you say a few words on obviously how this all falls into line with climate justice and your thoughts in general?
Okay, well, I'm always happy to follow Rachel and to endorse what she says, and I very strongly support SHINE, support this call for action, support this link between philanthropists, faith communities, development activists, because with the Foundation on Climate Justice, we began by noting and being very concerned about the injustice of climate change. And I see that more and more. I had 2 mandates in the last couple of years on climate. Before Paris, it was on climate change, linking with Rachel, at that time as the World Bank envoy on climate change. And then last May, the Secretary General asked 2 of us, Ambassador Machario, Kamau and myself, to be the special envoys on El Nino and climate. The first time a Secretary General has ever asked anybody to think about El Nino in this context, but it has become so serious because you have countries already vulnerable to climate change, affected severely by climate change, and then layered on top of that, you have the acute flooding and acute drought of the El Nino, followed by La Nina. And it has affected East Africa, Southern Africa, the dry corridor of the Honduras, of the Central America, where I visited Honduras, countries like Vietnam, Papua New Guinea. It has very tangible effects. And we're told there could be an El Nino this year, which would be really very severe. And what we've been aware of is that although we talk about sustainable energy for all, we have not emphasized the all enough. That's the justice dimension. We still have over 1 billion people who never switch that switch with no access to electricity. We still have 2.6, 2.8 billion who cook on open fires, on coal and wood and animal dung, and ingest the smoke that kills so many. And of course it's women and the children that are close to them. And these are not acceptable in the 21st century. But if you watch the IEA report on a kind of business as usual, we could have a very significant number of people without access to energy in 2030, at the end of what is to be this period. So it's not business as usual. We have to find ways to really accelerate the momentum that's in the 2030 agenda, not only of leaving no one behind, but of targeting and prioritizing the furthest behind first. I love that phrase, to reach the furthest behind first. That means you have to target. One of the ideas that my foundation has been putting forward and really feel is one way of doing this is by using social protection systems. Most countries identify their poor and they focus for health and education, but we should be focusing for energy on that group and using the social protection and using communities themselves coming forward these ways. And I think the SHINE campaign is a great way of doing this. So I am 100% supportive, and I really hope that this campaign will be the kind of breakthrough in recognizing that it's communities on the ground that must be made more resilient, that must get the access to energy, and that must be able to be part of this process. And I think the link with faith-based is extraordinarily important, and I'm really very happy about that. So 100% support.
Thank you. It's daunting to follow 2 of my sheroes. So I'm going to begin with a simple premise. We sit at a historic moment where civil society, faith, philanthropy, NGOs from development, health, women's human rights sectors really have a unique role to play to end energy poverty and to unleash profound social change for families, for health, and for the prosperity of communities. 3 unique factors have come together to create this very historic moment. The first, we've spent a lot of time talking about here at the SEforALL Forum, the breakthroughs in the technology that allow us to leapfrog fossil fuel development and get energy to communities that historically have not had the access, akin to the mobile phone and the landline. You get a sense of this dramatic moment we're at, but also because prices are dropping, it's affordable. Secondly, we have 2 global governance frames. The SDGs and the Paris Climate Agreement have set the world on a path towards a historic energy transition. These agreements are aligning resources, they're aligning priorities, they're aligning vision. Third is finance. The finance is shifting. $5.2 trillion in assets under management are now committed to get out of fossil fuels, with tens of billions more moving each month. Billions are moving into renewable energy, clean tech, and hundreds of millions into impact investing. But these broad factors don't ensure that we will reach the goal of SDG 7. We still need a dedicated, focused, bold, and aggressive action to do this. And yet the solution is really quite simple, and we need civil society to play its role alongside governments and alongside business. We need to incite the will to act, to make this our #1 priority. We need to build the capacities of the field and at the community level to maximize opportunities for development. We need to advocate together, use our voices together to tear down the policy barriers and enable the finances to flow, and we need to put up our money. We need to put our finances in service of innovative solutions and filling voids in the capital markets. And we need to do this driven by principles, as Mary elegantly said, with communities leading the finance, not the other way around, and ensuring that the needs and rights of communities are met. That is why we are building this new kind of collaboration of civil society partners and announcing the creation of SHINE today. SHINE, Investing in Energy Access for All, is a new global campaign dedicated to ending energy poverty and unlocking new opportunities for billions. Partners from faith, philanthropy, and the NGO sectors working with SEforALL will mobilize new forms of capital, as Rachel spoke about, to finance energy access. We'll scale grant resources to build the capacity of the field and communities. And we will together generate momentum to achieve universal energy access by 2030 and putting women and communities at the center of our focus. The partners to the campaign will pledge aggressive and sustained action on energy access, deploying programs, grants, and investments at scale. And this is critical. Commensurate with the challenge and the goal of ending energy poverty by 2030 means that we must make robust commitments. By championing distributed energy solutions, increasing the flow of resources, strengthening the communities, SHINE will accelerate progress in an already exploding field and foster greater collaboration among partners who don't always collaborate. I can only say that about my sector, philanthropy. But in the course of the next year, we will reach out and recruit global partners to the campaign. And in a year from now, we'll announce the partnerships and their commitments to the field, and we will make sure that they are very robust partnerships. We already have initial partners, many are in the room, who have been working together with SEforALL to develop the campaign and make early commitments. I want to acknowledge and thank Green Faith, the Church of Sweden, the World Council of Churches, Islamic Relief Worldwide, American Jewish World Service, the Catholic Agency for Overseas Development, the World Evangelical Alliance, along with Oxfam, ActionAid, the Hanley Foundation, the Ashton Awards, my foundation, Wallace Global Fund, and many more, because I'm sure I'm forgetting some and committing a faux pas. But our sectors, philanthropy, faith, development, health, and rights, have enormous resources to deploy, both in our grants and in our investments, to solve a global problem in a very short time period with unprecedented benefits for justice, for human rights, and for dignity. It's doable, the technology is there, it's affordable, and it is unconscionable if we sit on the sidelines or leave our assets invested in traditional funds. We have an ethical responsibility to act with urgency, to fulfill our missions to serve the public good, and we must unlock our resources now to unlock the human potential to shine.
Thank you, Ellen, and for all of you in the room, there will be a press release that follows this with all the details that Ellen just spoke about. But John, maybe now we can turn to you, and from a country perspective, you know, how does this support the work that you're doing in your local communities that we've already discussed today?
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, Honorable Rachel Kyte. Indeed, I'm humbled to be in this sort of panel. I had to stand because I'm challenged vertically, so that you can see me. My name is not known also, so I'm really humbled. About 1 billion people in this world go to hospitals, to clinics, that are not connected to the grid. They don't have electricity. I want to share a story in Kenya where about 280 kilometers from Nairobi city, we have a place called Isiolo, where there is a clinic that for many years did not have electricity. I'm happy because one of the partners here, Carford, was able to give them solar equipment that from that time, they were able to connect electricity in that center. It covers about 5,000 people who get medical attention in that clinic. They were able to get electricity and be able to get clean water because they did a purification plant because of that electricity. Secondly, women who were pregnant were able to deliver day and night and were able to go a very short distance because of electricity. Children were able to get vaccines because of electricity. The cost of medical attention went down drastically because of electricity that they were able to get. I want to share this story because the definition of energy access could be different from a government perspective. In Kenya, the energy access is about less than 20%. What that means is that the government is doing a lot of job in connecting houses. But what does that mean? It connects to persons who can afford $15 every month. It connects to a person who can afford the connection, a person who has a decent house. So basically, I'm seeing this Shine campaign as a connection to where the rubber meets the road, where it matters. I want to share another small story about 170 kilometers from Nairobi city. There's a place called Kitui in a school called Lisangwa, where one of the children there, we were given solar lanterns, small solar lanterns. This child came from a very poor background. She was orphaned. I want to call her Nancy. She was orphaned. Her grandmother, who was taking care of her, was paralyzed. You can imagine what kind of poverty was prevailing in that home. The headmaster of the school allowed these children to be carrying the solar lanterns to their home. And this helped the family be able to cook, to use Nancy was able to read beyond 6 o'clock where there was light. She was able to share the solar lantern with the grandmother, who was able to save some money that she was using on paraffin. Now she was not buying paraffin anymore. She could buy other food and other things. She was able, to avert diseases which are associated with paraffin and carbon monoxide. Right now, after 4 years ago, Nancy is going to the university because of a small $10 piece of solar lantern. We look at solar, we look at this energy as just light, but it can transform somebody to take that person to the university. It could be a link to the next business that you're going to make. It could be between you and death. It could be between you and childbearing. So this Shine campaign, I'm seeing it as a link to redefining what energy is and what energy is not. It's a justice issue, it is an equity issue, it is a reliability issue, and transformational issue. So I really support this kind of engagement, and I wish it could be given support worldwide. Thank you very much.
Archbishop, maybe a couple of words from yourself, and then we can have a Q&A to discuss what everyone said so far.
Thank you. Anders Wejryd, Church of Sweden. I'm a retired Archbishop, and I also represent the World Council of Churches as European President. Most of you know the prayer. Give us today our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses. It's kind of a surprising connection there. But the idea behind it is the resources are there, but the distribution, that's our fault. That's why this is also a religious interest of joining a campaign like this. Upholding hope that the resources are there. Knowledge, ingenuity, reasons for hope, but on the other hand, responsibility for what is fair and just. That is also part of a real religion. I think one of the assets that the faith communities can bring to this is a local base. We might have very many good ideas on distance, but these churches and congregations, they exist locally, and they don't always, but they often have a credibility. And they can build community funding. I mean, all these microfinance projects that we have had over the decades have created a lot of openings for this. And, as I've been told today, religious groups form one of the heavy investors. Therefore, it was important for my church to divest from fossil fuel many years ago. And we have done well since that. That was an unexpected blessing. We thought we would lose money on it, but we didn't. In order to favor other investments. And that's why the World Council of Churches is in this. Not because the World Council of Churches has much money, but they organize churches with about 500 million members, and those churches often have a lot of fear for tomorrow, and therefore they have to invest wisely. So the word will be spread also for coming days. This combination makes it important for us. Justice, hope, local presence, and resources.